All right. So, any questions or comments or any clarification? Mother Medhavni, your hand is up. Please go ahead, Mother.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, I had a question from the third chapter of the book. I'll just share the screen. I put it in the chat also of our group, but I did not get a response. So here, Srila Prabhupada mentions, as stated before, there are three kinds of happiness: material, spiritual, and emotional.
Your question about the difference between spiritual and devotional happiness, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, I remember. Sorry, I missed it. So fine. So Mother Medhavni's question about spiritual and devotional happiness. What it means by spiritual happiness is Brahman realization. The negative axis, zero axis, and positive axis. So that spiritual happiness refers to Brahman realization, because Brahman realization is also, is you're outside of material realm. But devotional happiness refers to bhakti. That's it. So as you know of the negative axis, zero axis, and positive axis, so zero axis is spiritual happiness. Spiritual happiness means you don't have any suffering of material sufferings. Brahma bhuta prasanna atma na sochati na kankshati. That is your spiritual happiness. But what is devotional happiness? When somebody engages in bhakti, that is called as devotional happiness. All right? Nitai Pran Prabhu?
Prabhu, we discussed about the difference between the Vaikuntha Dham Bhakti and the Vrindavan Dham Bhakti. Yeah, and you said that why the Vrindavan Dham Bhakti is far superior than that of the Vaikuntha Dham, because of the examples that we have even discussed. But I have heard from my counselor Prabhu that even the Vrindavan Dham has been further divided into three: Dwarka, Vrindavan, and Mayapur Dham. So out of these three, what my counselor mentioned, that the Mayapur Dham is far superior, even in the fact that the Vasi can be gone to any.
Okay. Hare Krishna. We are going out of syllabus now. Srila Rupa Goswami doesn't mention that, right? Srila Rupa Goswami brings us to Vraja Bhakti. So of course, some acharyas have mentioned that. There is also Navadip Dham. And yes, why Navadip Dham Bhakti is further glorified, as you were mentioning the point as per your discussion by your mentor, which is correct. I did not discuss that because Srila Rupa Goswami is not discussing it, okay? I wanted to stick to what has been mentioned here. Now, Navadip Dham is further glorified because of, Audarya, because of compassion. There is no question of offense only. Is a mercy personified. That's where it is further glorified in that regard. Well, when we see Srila Rupa Goswami is focusing on Braj Bhakti, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also focused on Braj Bhakti. But the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just like Srila Rupa Goswami, and all of them said, we don't know Krishna, we know you. You are everything for us. We are your devotees. So in that mood and sentiments, it has been mentioned. I don't know of any SS Shastric reference where it is talked about like this, but yes, there's a discussion post Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance about this Adarya Dham, Navadip Dham, and that is also for that reason. Just like, for example, if Nitai Prabhu have to ask a spiritual master, my dear Gurudev, where should I settle in, Vrindavan or Navadip? What do you think your Guru Maharaj is going to tell you? Just hypothetically, what do you think he's going to tell you?
Is it Navadip Dham?
Yeah, Navadip Dham. Even if you commit aparadh, you're not going to become a fall down. There's no going to fall down. Vrindavan Dham, little here, is a Navadip Dham. So for that, Adarya feature, Navadip Dham is glorified more. Right? I didn't want to have an out-of-syllabus discussion. Rupa Goswami did not mention, so I didn't go into that subject matter, okay? And I have not much read on that subject myself, frankly speaking, from the scriptures. Devotees talk about it, but I generally like to take that into a philosophical discussion when there is a proper scriptural writing backing it. I'm not saying there won't be. There could be, but I have not read, but I've also heard about it, as you said, correct? Yes, Mother?
Hare Krishna. Yeah, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhu. Prabhu, actually, in this previous chapter, this fifth chapter, we have been discussing that Krishna is just ready to accept everything. We just have to do bhakti. He's assuring that so repeatedly. So, in the discussion in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3 and 4, we are going through so much of a vigorous talk wherein Krishna is advising to Arjuna about doing karma yoga and just render all your services to, offer all your things to Krishna. Like in 4th chapter also, I think 12 or 13, in all that it is being told. So I got totally confused now with this. Like over there he's telling that we don't have to have desires. You have to give up all your desires and don't expect any fruits. Give up all your this. So I couldn't just.
So I'm confused about your confusion. What is your confusion?
तो नहीं यहाँ पर भी बोला गया है means here it is told that
Okay.
give up all your occupation and come down to me.
Okay, so is
There it seems that you have to do your work.
Fine.
Only offer it to Krishna, and then like he was.
is your question, to paraphrase, to make it in a single line, is karma yoga, bhakti yoga same or different? Is that what you're trying to ask?
Yeah, it's like.
Is that what
Yeah.
you're asking, right? So first of all, karma
Yeah.
yoga, bhakti yoga is not different, is one and all. Now, what is being mentioned as here, for example, before we go to chapter 3 and 4, we have to go back to chapter 2 to understand how karma yoga and bhakti yoga is described there. When Lord Shri Krishna concludes his discussion about the soul, by the 30th verse of chapter 2, and then he begins his discussion about swadharma, and nitya dharma.
Yeah.
Particularly, he talks about karma kanda. So he says soul has two functions: swadharma and nitya dharma. Swadharma is to engage in occupational duty, and the chapter 3rd and 4th emphasizes on that in the sense you cannot maintain your body if you don't do an occupational duty. For you to eat, you have to perform some work. That's where the karma is emphasized. But how to perform karma? In the sense of yoga. Just like the work binds us, but the same work can liberate us when we do it as devotional service. What is devotional service to the Lord means? We don't become a proprietary of the results of our work. We understand this is a gift of the Lord, and we try to utilize it as much as our capacity allows in the service of the Lord. That is called as karma yoga. Yagna artha karmano anyatra lokuyam karma bandhanaha tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara Bhagavad Gita chapter 3 verse number 9. Like that. Now there is nitya dharma. Now if somebody says, okay, I'll do karma yoga, in other words, I will earn money and I'll give charity. Does that becomes bhakti? No, that's not bhakti. That you're doing an act of charity, for that we have already discussed about this, I believe, in one of the previous discussion in this forum itself. That is not Shuddha Bhakti. That is bhakti, but that's not pure bhakti. The aspect of pure bhakti begins with Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam. So see what Prabhupada have given us, a system of balancing Nitya Dharma and Swadharma. How we practice Nitya Dharma? By chanting 16 hours of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, by hearing Bhagavatam every day, by reading Bhagavatam every day, eating Krishna Prasadam. This is your Nitya Dharma practice. What is Swadharma? Srila Prabhupada didn't tell everyone to renounce. Like all of your congregation, you're doing your household activities, you're taking care of family, you have professional responsibility. So that's how Swadharma gets balanced. And there's a direct devotional activities, which is your Nitya Dharma. And Prabhupada have given us the balance of both. And that's how you progress. So what when Krishna says, practice bhakti, which means both. And he's definitely emphasizing that do chanting, reading, hearing. It's not that, for example, I guess Nitya Prabhu had asked a question, if somebody does a blunder, how do we deal with it? It's not that you say, okay, I have committed a sinful activity, I will go and dedicate my 100% salary of this month to the service of the Lord, so I'll be free. No, that will also not suffice. Most importantly is maybe that may purify a little bit, but your consciousness got contaminated. For that, you have to surround yourself with spiritual vibration. The spiritual vibration means chanting, reading, hearing. Engaging yourself entirely into Nitya Dharma. So all of us would have experienced, at times it happens, sometimes our Swadharma supersedes our Nitya Dharma. And we get completely covered by too much material thoughts because we are doing too much material engagement. And at our stage, whatever material engagement we have, at times we are not able to connect it in the service of the Lord. Because that development of consciousness not happen because we are not following the actions which are necessary. For example, for a grahastha, it is mandatory to do some charity. Now the question is, how many of us actually follow on a regular basis, or we do once in a Janmashtami? So that to the degree we follow the action, to that degree effect will happen, isn't it? So maybe Swadharma, we are not able to reconcile how every work is related to Krishna, and we get clamored and covered over by the material thoughts. So Nitya Dharma, we need to then emphasize Nitya Dharma in our life. As I said in regards to Nitya Pranpu's question, take a break. Take a break for a few days and just chant and hear. And that is why yatras are organized. Yatras are organized for a purpose that you're completely absorbed into a spiritual consciousness, spiritual vibrations. So when Nitya Dharma supersedes, it kind of balances Swadharma and Nitya Dharma. Because you cannot give Swadharma right now. We're not in a stage where we can give up our occupational duties. We're not that advanced in our consciousness. So this occupational engagement will continue for years together. Because of Karmatmakam Buddhi, we are too much into performing actions for our self-sustenance. So therefore Swadharma will continue. Therefore time and again we need to spend dedicated time for Nitya Dharma. Every day you have a spiritual practice, but still once in a month, once in a quarter, we should take a break. Maybe once in a month for a weekend, once in a quarter for a couple of days, once in 6 months for, let's say, for a week, where we go and surround ourselves entirely with spiritual vibration. That's the only way you can balance it. We cannot balance Nitya Dharma, Swadharma being at home at all times. Okay? And that's why we organize yatra in ISKCON. We have a culture of yatras, retreats, etc., etc. That's all background to it. All right, Mother, I hope that question is answered. Mother Satya, let's hear from you.
Actually, Satya Mataji is not able to unmute herself. She's put her question in the chat.
Okay. In chapter 3, it is said that without becoming pious, one cannot come to bhakti. But again, we discussed that there is no prerequisite to taking up bhakti. I'm a bit unclear about this. Correct. Just like what did Srila Prabhupada do? Srila Prabhupada went and did prasadam distribution. So that, some piety will be created. But to accept prasadam, there is no piety required. Anyone can accept prasadam, right? So to hear Krishna Katha, no piety is required. But when you hear Krishna Katha, you become purified. When it's said to take to bhakti, which means to be able to dedicate yourself to the rules and regulations of bhakti, you have to be situated on the platform of piety. To be able to practice, like all of you are connected to some other temple, isn't it? All of you have experience, or let's say even in your case, so many people come to temple or program. There could be somebody who might have invited you for a temple program, but that person is nowhere now. But you have continued to bhakti. Why? Because that person could not give up on his sinful life. That's the only thing. Maybe our life was sinful, but we stopped performing sinful activities. Therefore, we have excelled in bhakti. That's how it is. All right? Okay. Mukandan Prabhu. All right.
Sorry. So this is actually not a question, but just wanted to clarify my understanding on the balancing of Swadharma and Nitya Dharma that you mentioned. So you mentioned that since we are not in an advanced state where we can forego our Swadharma and take up devotional service, pure devotional service in a full-fledged manner.
That is not advisable by Krishna to Arjuna also.
Correct.
All through the Bhagavad Gita, he is advising that only. Don't give it up. There's no need to give up. You don't have to give up your Swadharma to think you will excel in Bhakti Yoga. Because Bhakti Yoga and Karma Yoga is not different. Swadharma becomes Karma Yoga. Yat karoshi yat ashnashi yat juhosi dadatiyas. Yat tapasasi kanteya mat kurishva madarpanam. So when you do everything in relation to service of the Lord, then it's Bhakti Yoga. Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga is same. So there is no need to give up.
Right. So when we say that Karma Yoga becomes Bhakti Yoga when we dedicate the results of our activities to the Lord, so that means both Swadharma and Nitya Dharma perform together. Right? It's not just Swadharma.
Correct.
Wherein we dedicate the results to the Lord.
Correct.
With that, the Nitya Dharma also be performed.
If Nitya Dharma is not performed, then it is not pure Bhakti. That's the point. With your dedicating the results of your Swadharma, it may be Bhakti. It is classified as Bhakti because you're doing service of the Lord. But if you don't do the practices of this limbs of Bhakti, then it is not pure Bhakti. Pure Bhakti means Adhikari has a right on pure Bhakti. So, where means we are at Kanishta Adhikari, but we are chanting. So, when we do that, then it becomes a part of practice of pure Bhakti. That's a subtle difference. Like that.
Right. So what about let's say we are doing Swadharma and Nitya Dharma. And you said we have to, because of our material contamination that we have, got by performing Swadharma, and I mean, it's not performing Swadharma, but like in the past, we didn't dedicate the results of our activities to Krishna enough. Dedicating a little bit of it, but I mean, I'm just talking about myself.
Yeah, so
I'm learning so much.
Mukundan Prabhu isn't the conscious of renouncing everything, but we are not letting him to do it. So he's getting confused. What should I do? So that's a background for all of you where this question are arising. Prabhu, let me do Nitya Dharma. Why hang on to Swadharma? Let me just chant, dance, and
I can
see. Let's not make this subject complicated. Please understand, Srila Prabhupada has given a very simple formula. Chant 16 rounds minimum. When Srila Prabhupada said chant 16 rounds minimum, where he wanted us to chant a quality rounds gradually. So rather than have a focus on anything and everything, what we need to do is what practice has been given to us. We should try to improve the quality of that practice. I would say that should be a focus at this point of time rather than anything else. Let's not get caught up with the external things of it. Where what we should do, we should focus on how my consciousness can be improved. So let me chant attentively. See, even if let's say somebody takes sannyas, for example, let's say he stops, doesn't need to perform Swadharma now, for that reason he can. Now his sannyas ashram would only be successful when his consciousness, he has cultivated those emotions, let's say emotion of gratitude, emotion of humility, where he's always in a prayerful mood. And I would say that opportunity is far greater to a congregation than a renunciate in ISKCON today. Because renunciates do not struggle as much as the congregation has to struggle to maintain themselves. So in one way, you have a great opportunity because you are going through day-to-day challenges, far greater than a renunciate will go today in ISKCON, because ISKCON is being an organization, so renunciate are taken care. They don't have to worry too much about their, roti kapda makan, as I say in Hindi. But for our congregation, is an everyday battle. So you have a great opportunity to cultivate that prayerful mood. For let's say for renunciate, he has one shot at one point of time given up everything. Of course, that's a big sacrifice. It's a big risk. It's a big step taken forward at a young age when you have a whole future awaiting you without any bank balance. Of course, that decision is taken. Fine. I definitely acknowledge that, and we glorify renunciates for that. But look at the grihasthas also. It's an everyday struggle for them. You also have an opportunity to develop that consciousness. Now for you, the challenge could be wealth, because wealth is one of the greatest attachment. And that always remains at the back of the mind, oh no, I need some money for my family, etc., etc. So now you have an opportunity to cultivate the detachment from the wealth. Active detachment. Even a renunciate after giving up everything can become attached to wealth. How? Those who give donation to him, he may become attached to it. Hey, this is my donation. No, but that's not renunciate ashram. He is supposed to give everything back to the temple. He cannot say, this is my forum, my people, they contributed to me, so I am going to use the way I want it in the service of the Lord. No. You give it back to Guru. Guru decides how this money to be used, and he gives you. So the challenges are there. So you have also an opportunity to focus on the core principles. I need to cultivate detachment. And main is woman and wealth. Again, woman and man, you understand the concept, vice versa. Biggest attachment, the Maya is sexual attachment. And second is attachment to wealth. So we all have to give up that. And Grihastha ashram is a way to give it up. Brahmachari ashram has its own way of giving up. And everyone, in bhakti, it really, ashram doesn't matter. Yes, in one way, certain ashram has a certain advantage. This is not an ashram-related discussion, so I'm not going to speak on that. But, certain ashram has an advantage. But those who are in Grihastha ashram, now you're in Grihastha ashram. Now your duty is to make this as a successful ashram. There is no change of position for you. So you are into this ashram, your duty is to make this as a successful ashram. Just like it is said, the grass on the other side is always greener. Let's not become victim to the trick of mind, who always keep looking at, oh, kash main bhi brahmachari hota to kitna acha hota, etc., etc. Or how nicely I could have performed devotional service, chant and dance, fly like brahmacharis in the bliss always. I'm not saying you're regretting for your married life. That's not the point. But you look forward that, maybe in future I'll get that, so many encumbrances because of family life. I have to go through with it, etc. So challenges are there for everyone, Prabhu. It doesn't matter brahmachari, grahastha. And the challenge for all of us is from our mind. It is not the brahmachari's mind is a special mind. His mind also has contaminations. Similarly, grahastha may have, because contaminations are not coming because of the ashram. Contaminations are there in the mind because of what we have done in the past. So we all have to focus, whichever ashram we have chosen, we are living into it. How do I make the best use of that ashram? That ashram is a platform. Ashram is not the destination. Ashram is a platform. How do I make use of this platform which is given to me to cross over? So if a grahastha is there, I would strongly request grahastha to focus on his responsibilities as a grahastha. What is my responsibility? What does scriptures talk about the responsibility of the grahastha? That should be our focus. Similarly, for brahmachari, you need to focus on what is the responsibility of brahmachari. And in any ashram, we can go back to Godhead. It is nowhere mentioned that unless the grahastha takes sannyas or vanapasa cannot go back to Godhead, which means all of us, what we need to do is make our ashram successful. I, as a grahastha, should follow the grahastha responsibilities attentively. I, as a brahmachari, should follow the brahmachari rules and regulations sincerely. And then I'll succeed in bhakti. I'm from brahmachari ashram. I can tell you life in brahmachari ashram is not easy, huh? Because problem is with the mind. Problem is not with the ashram. Problem is with the mind. Of course, I would not be speaking like this if I was speaking to the bachelors. My tone would be a little different. But I'm speaking to the grahasthas, so I'm speaking in a different way. Okay, jokes apart. So, yes, Mukunda Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. So we have to focus more on Nitya Dharma and make it stronger. I completely understand that. But the question that I had was in terms of Swadharma, right? How do I cultivate that detachment? Like you rightly said, I have to get more detached from the wealth. That's my main focus now. How do I get detached more from the wealth? Even though I'm
Perfect.
trying to contribute to
Perfect.
business.
So, whatever, all of us can do this exercise. Take a pen and paper and write down what are my biggest attachments. Now you want to purify that attachment. The simple formula is engage that attachment in the service of the Lord. Okay. Now somebody is attached to his family. You want to get purified of that attachment? Engage that in the service of the Lord. Make sure your family members have service to the Lord, or you take them to temple more and more. Because when they become Krishna conscious, your attachment will definitely become neutralized. Okay, now when it comes to wealth, a disclaimer. As a grahastha, having a family, wife and the kids to look after, you should definitely do some financial planning. A financial planning should be done. That should be in discussion with the life partner and of course in discussion of some financial advisor, where certain financial planning has been done. And outside of it, then you can figure out how much you want to contribute. It should not be on the basis of emotions. Because later on, we may face challenges. This I'm speaking a standard thing, a general thing. I'm not saying anything based on anyone's faith. Somebody may have such an advanced faith that he can just entirely depend on Lord, like Shiva's Thakur. That's okay. But we are speaking the general thing. That do a financial planning with the help of some financial advisor or somebody. If in your community you have some financial advisor, a congregation can help you with that. And you understand what your needs are, how much would you need to take care of myself post-retirement, what are the needs for the kids to raise them to stand on their feet, and then, okay, 70-30, 80-20, 90-10, whatever percentage comes, let that remaining 30-20-10, whatever it is, then I use in the service of the Lord, peace of mind, move forward now. So that is very very essential to do.
Yeah, because Rupa Rupa Goswami's formula, and Prabhupada also encouraged contributing 50% of one's wealth in Krishna.
See,
25%
correct,
for
correct. That is
family
right.
and relatives, 25%.
That is totally right. But again, I have also worked. I had been a professional. Of course, I was never married, but I do understand how situation as a professional. What are your expenses and everything? So that is an ideal situation to come. That is not a regulation. Please understand that first. 50% is not a regulation. 50% is an ideal situation. So to come to that situation, we don't start with 50% now. To come to that situation, we start gradually. And for that purpose, I said, see, Srila Rupa Goswami did that 50% at the maturity of his Krishna consciousness. When he was renouncing everything, right? It is not mentioned prior to that. Of course, he was doing a lot of devotional service, charitable work, inviting Brahmanas, etc. But I don't think so there's as such mention that prior to that, he was doing that. So what I'm saying is, do a financial planning for yourself. Please do not make it as a regulative principle for a grahastha that I have to do 50%, that is the regulative principle. No, that is an ideal situation. And this becomes a part of a detail, not a principle. Principle is to do a charity, to contribute. Detail is how much do I contribute. It all depends on your upbringing, your state of consciousness, what level of comforts do I need. If I don't have certain level of comforts, maybe that I cannot chant properly. Isn't it? Let's say you're living in a Bombay and Hare Krishna. Have I got stuck now? I can't see anyone moving. Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhuji, you're audible.
Okay. So let's say somebody is in Bombay, or let's say Chennai. At least let's take an example of Chennai. Mukunda Prabhu is from Chennai. Now Chennai in summers is pretty hot. It's pretty soggy. I mean, it could be very difficult without AC, to really deal with the summer there. Now, if somebody has the ability to afford a AC and that helps to read and hear properly, is that a bad thing to do? Not a bad thing to do. But let's say you're going to Vrindavan, then we should not be, actually when you're going to Vrindavan, then we should not be looking for such comforts. Going to Vrindavan, settling down means now you have come to a stage of renunciation. But by performing your Swadharma along with your rules and regulations, that time we have this, that need is taken care of fine. In city life, not to have a fridge is very difficult. It's not possible. Let's say you become a Vanaprastha where husband wife, then you can run without washing machine, without fridge, at the simplest. Because you can go down and buy vegetable for two of you. How much you're going to eat after 60 years of age? Hardly has an appetite. You don't need to have a washing machine. You can simply wash your clothes. You're going to wear dhoti kurta. Just rinse it once, 2 minutes job, dry it up. 5 minutes, dry off. Sleep on the floor. No comforts are needed. So you aim for that. Don't aggravate your comforts and don't deprive also too much. In such a way that your family life becomes troublesome, then your bhakti life will become troublesome. Hare Krishna. This is how I look at it. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, Anshul Prabhu.
So, Prabhuji, we say that we need to balance Swadharma and Nitya Dharma till we reach a point of time when our consciousness is mature enough to maybe kind of completely renounce Swadharma and kind of that kind of thing. So, would it be correct to then say that Sarvadharman Parityajya is applicable only post that stage of consciousness?
No. It is nowhere mentioned like that you have to balance it to a particular point where your consciousness becomes elevated like this. Nowhere Krishna told Arjuna like that. Continue living your life, that itself is a success. Renunciation is not mandatory. Matlab, changing of ashram is not mandatory in bhakti life. It is not that you will not be a successful sadhaka if you don't take sannyas. That's what you're indicating, right? We come to a certain stage of when we renounce. Renounce what? Take sannyas ashram? Then only I'll be a successful sadhaka? No, that is Mayavada path, where they have to compulsorily renounce, because Renunciation is not the prerequisite. Renunciation naturally develops Vasudeva Bhakti Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayati Asu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayadahitukam. Vairagya develops naturally in the heart of Bhakta. Now imagine Nityanand Prabhu, who was a avadhut for most part of his life. At the age of 12, he left with a sadhu. And then around 30 or 40 years of age, when he came and met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and was with him for a good amount of time, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sent him back from Jagannath Puri to Navadvip and get married. Do you think for an avadhut, first of all, I just cannot understand how is it possible. It is only possible for Nityanand Prabhu. He only can do it, which means Balaramji can only follow the most difficult instruction. This is not an easy instruction. When you've been a hardcore renunciate for all your life to get married and have family, when you have never ever dealt with a woman, now to deal with a woman is impossible, in that way. So imagine he comes back, gets married. So now in his situation, in one way, that is a kind of a degradation, isn't it? Because he is from the higher platform coming to a lower platform of taking a family responsibility. Now he has to do some swadharma to maintain his family life. So it's not like that. It's not like that. It's not about changing positions. Bhakti is very simple. It's about changing our consciousness. I am a servant of the Lord. And let me focus on serving the Lord. Lord means Vaishnavas, all the Tadyanam, all the everything related to Lord. Let me try to serve. That is the mood I need to cultivate. Does not matter we are sannyasi, grahastha, brahmachari, vanaprastha. Bhakti is not dependent on that. That's how Bhakti is not dependent on varnashrama. This is varnashrama, na? The 4 ashrams. These are part of varnashrama. Bhakti is independent of that. That's what we discussed. It is not. Bhakti is only dependent on our state of consciousness. So my request is, you are in a grahastha ashram, please focus on my responsibility as a grahastha. Somebody is in brahmachari ashram, focus on responsibility of brahmachari ashram, what I need to do to make progress in bhakti. That should be focused, not I can progress if I change my ashram. That is not the fact. That's what Arjuna wanted to do and Krishna stopped him from doing. Arjuna thought, if I change my ashram from right now, change ashram is change varna also. He wanted to give us the Kshatriya varna, become Brahmana. Then of course he had to change his grahastha ashram to a sannyas ashram. Then I would be successful. Krishna said, no. That's the message of Bhagavad Gita. All right?
So thanks for that explanation, Prabhu. But in that case, how would Sarvadharman Paritijya be applicable for someone who's trying to balance the Swadharma and Nitya?
If I put down into a measured means, for a working professional, the first thing is start making monthly contribution towards devotional causes. That is your first aspect of Sarvadharma Parityaja. Second is on the Swadharma side. Second thing on Nitya Dharma side, organize your life in such a way that don't have too much material aspirations to fulfill. I want to become the next CEO. Don't have too much high material aspirations. Try to live your occupational life in such a way that you're able to do the needful with your occupational duty to maintain yourself, simultaneously harmonize and grow your spiritual life. So, for example, if you feel the upcoming promotion in my professional life can derail my Krishna consciousness, so what is Swadharma Parityaja for you? Do not take that promotion. Getting it? Now I'm getting into details of it. So do not take promotion because your Krishna consciousness is going to get derailed. So Swadharma is a decision after decision. There are a lot of things will be put forward to you. Now what decision you make? Are we willing to give up our material aspirations, physical comfort for the cause of Krishna consciousness? That is a practice of Swadharma, or what's that? Sarvadharman. That is Sarvadharman Parityaja. Mukundan Prabhu, your hand is up.
Prabhu, different question. This is regarding the comparison between Vaikuntha and Goloka devotees. So every one of us has a relationship with Krishna in one of the rasas, right? And so depending on our rasa, the highest perfection we can achieve by surrendering to the Lord and serving the Lord in that particular rasa. Like for example, Hanuman is serving Lord Ram in the rasa of servitude. and that's his highest perfection. So I'm not able to understand the comparison between one rasa and another rasa in terms of which is higher. So is it based on what pleases the Supreme Lord the most that it is said that Madhurya rasa is higher than the other rasas, or because from a living entity's perspective, it is he achieves his perfection by serving the Lord completely in that particular rasa. He is selflessly without any other motives, unconditionally.
Correct.
So when we say one rasa is higher than,
So two things on that. When technicalities are presented, then it is said Madhurya Ras is the highest, because there you have the highest experience of all the emotions. But in context of service to the Lord, it's not about higher and inferior and superior. It's not that Krishna is not going to be that equally available to Sakhyaras and all that. But of course, gradations matters. Just like Damodar Leela, Balramji wasn't there, when Damodar Leela happened. So when Rohini and Balramji came back, and when Balramji saw Krishna tied, he became very angry. He said, "Oh, kisne bandha mere Krishna ko? Who dared to do this?" Now Balramji is the same Lakshman. Can you imagine Lakshman seeing Lord Ram being tied up? Balramji became very angry. Mother Yashoda, that whole drama had just ended. So Mother Yashoda, and that's the day of Diwali, she just entered the kitchen to do something for Diwali festival. And now Balramji is coming and screaming in the courtyard, "Who did this? Tell me now." So Mother Yashoda was actually, making some puris or something. So she had belan in her hand. So she came out with belan in her hand outside in the courtyard. "I did it." And her belan was raised up in the, in the hand like this. She said, "I did it." And as soon as Balramji saw the raised belan, he ran away from that. "Arey, meri bhi pitai padegi." He fled from the scene. So when Acharyas discuss on this, he said, see, Vatsalya Ras superseded Sakhya Ras, which Balramji was in that point. Balramji is in all the rasas, but that point of time it was Sakhya Ras which was getting manifested. But Vatsalya Ras superseded. And then Srila Jiva Goswami talks about how finally the rope with which Lord Shri Krishna was tied got untied. Then Madhurya Ras superseded, because that rope was brought by Srimati Radharani. That rope means, the ladies tie something on their hair, whatever you call it, ribbon, something. So Mother Radharani came and she untied her ears and she gave. And then Mother Yashoda, when she got that, and then, so that is how Krishna got tied up. I'm sorry, not untied. That is how Krishna got tied up. So that time, Madhurya Ras superseded Vatsalya, like that. So like that, that's the thing. Now when it comes to our situation, these are technicalities, our situation, I frankly don't like to think on the subject matter because I fear that there could be an aparadh possibly happen. We're thinking that some rasa and the devotees on those rasas are better than the devotees in other rasas. What is my duty right now is to practice. Whenever similar question on this regard will come to Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada would often answer, with the time, everything would be revealed to you. Sevan mukhahe jivado swayameva spurati adaha. It will get manifested. We cannot acquire a certain position. It will get manifested. When something is supposed to get manifested, I should stop the endeavors of acquiring it. So when it comes to my Siddha Swarup and in what rasa I am, I cannot acquire it. It will be revealed to me. If it is revealed to me, then so be it. Let me focus on what I can do. Of course, as a philosophically, we can always discuss, as you asked the question. At a personal level, at least I don't think much on this. I'm struggling with my dasya bhava only, which itself is becoming a big struggle for me. So we'll think about the other rasas later on. First, we have to get settled in dasya bhava. All right, Mukunda Prabhu?
thank you. Yeah, my question was also more on the philosophical side, just to understand
Yeah.
how the rasas play out each other. But this pastime that you described, it helped so much to understand that aspect. Thank you so much.
Jai Prabhu. Unmute, please.
Prabhuji, regarding the question before this,
Nitya Dharma and Swadharma. So probably it will be covered in Bhagavad Gita whenever we take it up. But like my understanding is there shouldn't be a need to bifurcate between these two type of dharmas at all, right? Like why do we have to bifurcate between? Isn't it the like whatever activities throughout the day we are performing?
No, that is
we should
needed.
Be conscious of.
That is needed because otherwise we can become victim to sahajism. We will take things cheaply. People will take to path or renunciation artificially. Everything is bhakti, let's do everything. No, not like that. You have a Swadharma, that's a whole discussion about it. Swadharma, Nityadharma are two different things. Swadharma is for the maintenance of the body. Nityadharma is for the nourishment of the soul. Okay? So now we try to follow Swadharma, Nityadharma in such a way that both of it brings us to the ultimate objective. That is Krishna. So that Swadharma, when it is practiced at yoga, karma yoga, where whatever I do with my body, mind, senses and speech, if I try to utilize in the service of the Lord, then it all gets purified. And if I don't do those actions in the service of the Lord like that, then that thing binds me. So in our sadhaka stage, the difference and discrimination is essential because we have certain amount of time we allocate for Swadharma, certain amount of time we allocate to Nitya Dharma. If we don't do it, otherwise tell me how would we allocate times? Isn't it? Just like you go, there's so many spiritual organizations and their leaders are definitely great advanced devotees, no doubt about it, but they don't follow this culture of measured sadhana. They say chant the names of the Lord. They give you the mantra, but they'll not tell you how many nouns of Mahamantra to be chanted. So how would you do that? So that is needed, the sadhaka. The stages and the steps are essential. It's just like we are a newborn baby in the path of bhakti. So do we need baby steps or no? We can't be put into a relay race and say, chalo, bhago. That will not happen. So that's the reason it's needed, okay?
But probably the confusion is like what I'm not able to understand is like why, like to the point that you said about Sarvadharman Parityajya, right? Like we have, like I have heard in other lectures, probably in your lectures also, that we should not restrict ourselves in terms of how much I am earning, how much I am going above in my position, like my promotion, etc. If I am able to engage everything in service of Krishna, so then if I don't take promotion, then it is wrong, right? Because my nature is to excel in my job, and I am engaging with Krishna, sir.
What I answer to Anshul Prabhu, if you're taking promotion will derail you in your basic practice of bhakti, then that promotion is not favorable. I did not say never take promotion, if you hear my answer correctly. I said if you're taking a promotion, you feel that, oh, I would not be able to even take out 2 hours now to chant 16 hours. So what is the usage of you saying that I'll engage everything in the service of the Lord, if you cannot follow the basic principles of bhakti? Yes or no? Nobody is avoiding or rejecting or restricting you from making a material progress. But that should not be at the cost of your spiritual progress. And basic needs of spiritual progress is chanting 16 hours. Your life becomes so hectic that you cannot even attend one program in a week. Forget about every day hearing Bhagavatam. You struggle with your 16 rounds. It's always happening by the midnight. Is that a good life? It's not a good life at all. Of course, somebody may have certain situation in the family, some loan, etc., etc. That should be a temporary situation. But somebody makes this as a goal of his life and that's how he wants to live. And he keeps telling, okay, whatever I come, I'll give it to you. You'll not be able to give 5% then. Because what will give you the strength to give donation? If you have a spiritual life, your spiritual life is already dead. You're only going to do things for your selfish purposes. You'll not even give 0.5%. Forget about 5%. How many people even are able to give 5%? Not very difficult. Even 5%, I don't know. People can give 25% tax to government. They can't even give 5% tax in the service of the Lord. So, if I get into the realistic life, look at it. What is our level of consciousness already? When we theoretically speaking that what is the problem if I gonna use, but what is the evidence that we are using it? What is the proof that I'm serving the Lord? As a grahastha, is a responsibility, is a dharma to invite sadhus at their home, to host, Vaishnavas at their home, to have a program at their home, some kirtan. How many are able to do it? How many are monthly able to contribute for the cause of Krishna consciousness? There's such a huge community. How much? No, it doesn't happen like that. So, reality is far different than the theory that we are discussing right now. And real life that all of you know, I don't know of that. Some of you I know because some of you are directly connected to me and contribute towards our outreach here. So I know how much you contribute or not. But at large, you know your status of your spiritual life. Okay? That's the point. Unmute yourself.
Actually, in today's lecture, it is mentioned that somebody is following Varnashrama and not continuing Krishna consciousness, then he is at fault or like that. So Varnashrama is given by Krishna only, the Chaturvarnam. So if we are following Varnashrama,
okay, good question.
Krishna consciousness.
Yes, Krishna only gave. How can you say no? That Krishna came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Yes, Santosh Prabhu, or no?
Yes, yes.
And that Sri Krishna who came at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his conversation with Ramananda Rai said, reject Varnashram Dharma. Bhakti is not dependent on Varnashram Dharma. Speak more. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said so. We are following Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, okay? And Srila Rupa Goswami was instructed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore it is. All right?
Yeah, Prabhu, but that...
See, when we say give a Varnashrama Dharma, see, we are not giving up Varnashrama Dharma. I am Brahmachari is a part of Varnashrama Dharma. What it means is giving up the shelter of Varnashrama Dharma, not the activities of Varnashrama Dharma. The activities should be of Krishna conscious, the bhakti activities. We don't have to depend on Varnashrama Dharma for our progress in bhakti. We are still practicing Varnashrama Dharma. If you're married, you are in Grahastha Ashram, that's part of Varnashrama. I'm a Brahmachari, that's a part of Brahmachari Ashram, that's all still part of Varnashrama Dharma. Although we may call it Devi Varnashrama Dharma when it is used in the service of the Lord. That's the point here. None of us are giving Varnashrama. In fact, Prabhupada said, my 50% mission is incomplete because I couldn't establish Varnashrama Dharma. So you need to have the ability to reconcile. When it is said, don't follow Varnashrama Dharma, it is not to follow Varnashrama Dharma practices, not to depend on Varnashrama Dharma rules for the sake of progress in bhakti. For bhakti, we follow the bhakti principles, but the baseline is Varnashrama Dharma. We are not creating a new dharma here by rejecting Varnashrama, okay?
Yes. But is it that progress through Varnashrama in the bhakti is slower?
Yes, because in Varnashrama Dharma, there is no focus on spiritual practice. In Varnashrama Dharma, there is focus on religious practice, not spiritual practice. Okay?
Yeah, understood. Yes.
Hare Krishna. So thank you all for joining in.